welcome back. This is Don't Watch at Night, a spooky little podcast dedicated to Latin American and Spanish language horror. I'm your host, Valerie.
And I'm Veronica.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Ron. What you doing?
Hello. Waking up.
Yeah, that's right. We're recording at... What the hell was that?
I told you I was trying to put my phone on silent.
Okay.
But it must have had an update because I had to it was restarting. On silent now.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's just I'm having trouble. Like, my audio levels are all wonky, so I heard that super loud, but I'm sure it was
I heard it super loud.
Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, just waking up. That's right. We're recording at 10 in the morning, so it's morning time in America. So this is a book club episode, which means we have a bunch of stuff up top before we even get to the book, including my drink pairing. But are there any other fun things that you wanted to share, Ron? Last night we did an Austin FC game, so we went to go watch the soccer people do the soccer things. It was fun. There was like no goals scored the entire game, so that kind of feels like a bit of a dud, but it was still fun to be there. We go and we stand in the general admission section, so that's the rowdier side of the stadium. So it was a good time.
Last weekend we went and saw, I don't even know what it's called, that new Jurassic World Park movie.
Oh yeah, Rebirth.
Whatever it's called. It's actually better than I thought.
It was fun.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah, I didn't know very much about what it was going to be about going in, but Jonathan Bailey, I like him.
Has he been in stuff before?
Yeah, he's Bridgerton dude.
I don't watch Bridgerton.
Okay, well, he was also in Wicked.
Don't watch Wicked. Have no interest in Wicked.
Okay.
No interest in Bridgerton. So
you don't like musicals?
Not every musical.
Truth be told, I haven't seen Wicked either. Not for not wanting to. We haven't gotten around to it. But the boys do want to see part 1 of Wicked now because you saw the trailer for part 2 of Wicked at the beginning of the Rebirth film. So they're all into that. And they're like, yeah, we got to see the first one now. And I'm like, yeah, we do. We did, for those of you unaware who haven't been listening to our episodes where we've mentioned it every episode, we read Jawbone by Mónica Ojeda. And so the drink pairing that we're doing, I'm not drinking because it's 10 in the morning, but at the time that you listen to this episode, when it comes out, hopefully you will have what you need to have this cocktail on hand when you listen. So we are drinking a Dark and Stormy because adolescence is dark and stormy. Also because I chose this one because it incorporates rum. For me, with the ebook at least, rum is referenced on page 296. I noted the page. That's where you see the first mention of rum. So I figured, well, we'll go with that. So I'm going to share a little bit about it from liquor.com. I do not have a big long spiel today like I normally do. I have a little bit, but not nearly as long as I can go. This is a highball. This is only the, I think, second highball that we've featured on the show. So highball is quantities of liquor are not as, it's not a 1-for-1 with liquor and mixers. This is a close cousin to the Moscow Mule. A Moscow Mule is vodka, ginger beer, and lime. This one incorporates rum instead of the vodka. So just brief history on it. Popular cocktail can be found all over the world. Its origin, like many drinks, is a bit hazy, though it's likely that rum and ginger beer were first combined by sailors who enjoyed the obvious benefits of rum and the stomach-settling qualities of ginger. And by the way, I am pulling all of this information from liqueur.com. We'll link that for you guys. A Dark and Stormy's direct lineage can be traced squarely to one island in the Atlantic Ocean. Gosling's Black Seal is a rich, flavorful rum from Bermuda, where the rum's long history dates back to 1806. Gosling's Black Seal features notes of caramel, vanilla, and spice, and technically, this rum is the only rum that can be used in a Dark and Stormy. The brand Gosling's even went so far as to trademark the drink back in 1981. Any drink titled a Dark and Stormy must be made featuring their rum. In fact, they've even gone so far as to sue other beverage brands that have attempted to peddle their drink with their rum.
I did not know you could, what was it? Trademark drinks.
I guess, yeah.
I guess it makes sense. I'm sure Coca-Cola, the formulas for Coke and Pepsi and all those drinks are trademark. I've just never thought about alcoholic drinks.
Yeah, like a cocktail specifically. I'm sure there's other instances of it.
Any bartender in the world can make a,
Right.
an
Yeah.
alcoholic drink.
According to this, if you really want a full dark and stormy experience, you have to make it using Gosling's rum. And I did check places like Total Wine carry it. It's reasonably priced, so it's very accessible. So you can get this rum. I have never tried it, and I've never had a dark and stormy either. Full disclosure. So at the time of this recording, I'm not drinking one right now. So, I will try it, and so at the time that this episode posts, I will have had a dark and stormy by then, and I'll be able to report on my findings. Anyway, a dark and stormy is, like I said, rum, ginger beer, and fresh lime juice. The article does specifically note that while you can use ginger ale as a substitute, it is not an equivalent to ginger beer. Duh, they're different. They taste different. So just know that. You really should go for a ginger beer if you make this drink. And then it also says the lime juice is optional. We will incorporate that in our recipe. But if you were to be drinking in Bermuda, say you're ever vacationing in Bermuda and you order a dark and stormy, you're likely to be served it with just the rum and the ginger beer, and you might get a lime wedge to garnish. And so you could squeeze that into your drink at your own discretion. Just running through the ingredients really quick, and then we'll be done. Because this is a highball, there's no shaking involved. It's just 2 ounces of Gosling's Black Seal rum, half an ounce lime juice freshly squeezed, and then ginger beer to top. And so you're going to probably top that at like about 5 ounces worth of ginger beer. And then you garnish with a lime wheel. So you add all of that into your tall glass, fill it with ice, and boom, you're done. That's your highball drink. Enjoy.
Oh, sorry, what is a highball drink again?
So like if a cocktail is 50-50 of, alcohol paired with your mixings, then a highball is like 30-70. So it's just the equivalent of the amount of mixer is greater than the amount of alcohol. It's lower ABV than like a cocktail. You can have a highball and be fine versus for some people, one cocktail and you're under the table. So a highball is a more probably a more appropriate beverage for like a brunch. Or you, yeah.
For me.
Or honestly, us when we're camping, maybe we should be drinking more highballs at camping than cocktails. Yeah, that's the dark and stormy. Friends, so what I did right there that I didn't realize until after the fact was I forgot to talk about the mocktail. And the mocktail is too great. We cannot leave it out. So I said, we'll fix it in post, as they say. And so the mocktail for this book, for Jawbone, is the Crocodile Crown. And we pulled this recipe from thespruceeats.com. And basically, you're going to keep much of the same ingredients. You're going to incorporate a simple syrup. Remember, that's equal parts sugar and water. And you're also going to incorporate Lyre's Dark Cane Spirit. This is a non-alcoholic take on a dark rum. So we will include those recipes in our show notes, but for you here, the recipe is 1/2 ounce simple syrup, 3/4 ounce fresh lime juice, 2 ounce Fever Tree ginger beer or more to your taste or preference, and then 2 ounces of Lyre's Dark Cane Spirit. And same situation, you're going to throw this all in a glass, you're going to have ice, serve it up highball style, and enjoy with a lime wheel as a garnish. All right, cheers. Back to the show.
For this book club episode, we read Jawbone by Mónica Ojeda. She's an Ecuadorian writer, and this book was published in 2018. Reading the, I don't know if they call it the little blurb that's always on the back of the book. Fernanda and Annalise are so close they are practically sisters, a double image, inseparable. So how does Fernanda end up bound on the floor of a deserted cabin held hostage by one of her teachers and estranged from Annalise? When Fernanda, Annalise, and their friends from the Delta Bilingual Academy convene after school, Annalise leads them in thrilling but increasingly dangerous rituals to a rhinestoned, Dior-scented drag queen god of her own invention. Even more perilous is the secret Annalise and Fernanda share, rooted in a dare in which violence meets love. Meanwhile, their literature teacher, Miss Clara, who is obsessed with imitating her dead mother, struggles to preserve her deteriorating sanity. Each day, she edges nearer to a total break with reality. Interweaving pop culture references and horror concepts drawn from Herman Melville, H.P. Lovecraft, and anonymous creepypastas, Jawbone is an ominous, multivocal novel that explores the terror inherent in the pure potentiality of adolescence and the fine line between desire and fear.
What was that face about?
Like, what is a creepypasta?
A creepypasta is
I
know
forgot
what
to Google it.
I know what they are. I've never like gotten into them, but creepypastas are like you know Slender Man, right? Like you've heard of
I've
Slender
heard,
Man?
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like they're little internet horror mini tales or I guess you could say it's kind of like folklore, but folklore for the internet age. So, people will publish creepypastas.
Okay, but where does the name creepypasta come from?
That I want to say even the book talks about, or the translator's note at the end of the book talks about it. Perhaps
I was listening to the audiobook, so
it's a play on the word copy pasta, which
still don't
references the way these stories are often copied and pasted across online platforms. So it's
copy pasta. Okay.
It refers to short user-generated horror stories that kind of go viral on the internet and only live kind of really on the internet. So
okay, but how is that different from just fan fiction?
They're called creepypasta. I don't know because of what I just told you. It's a mashup of the word copy and paste. So it's like these stories travel along on the internet because people copy and like wherever the story originated on the internet, they copy and paste it, and it travels kind of like a game of telephone, but on the internet. So it's just that's what they call it, creepypastas. They've been around for a long, long time. Did you do the audiobook?
I did,
and I did the ebook
because I was running out of time. And now with my long commute back to work, and actually Friday I was doing home visits, so I was like really just in the car all day. So that's how I managed to knock it out in 2 days. And I was listening to it at anywhere from 1.5 speed to 3 speed, 3 times speed.
3 speed? I've never exceeded 2 speed.
That was mostly for the chapter where Clara is reading the essay that Annalise wrote. And then I was like, I just can't listen to this. I just sped it up to get through it as fast as possible.
It was interesting, but yeah, it was very long in the ebook. It was like 30 pages. So
it was a long chapter, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of her. Let me speed up.
Let me first say I definitely got tired of Annalise as a character.
Mm-hmm.
Were you saying like you got tired of her as a character, like tired of listening to Annalise?
Oh, listen, by chapter 2, I was going to text you. I already can't stand any of these people. Well, I mean, she's a talented writer for sure. Now, number one, I've probably said this before. I just do not enjoy reading about adolescents. Okay. Teenage characters, not my thing.
Okay.
So that was going to be strike one.
I don't think that had come up yet on the show before. So that's new information for me. So you do not enjoy reading about adolescents.
No, that's why I totally steer away from young adult stories. Like I have a lot of reader friends that do read and enjoy young adult novels, stories, but I don't even, once in a while I'll think, okay, well maybe I'll like this one. And then I read it. I'm like, nope. Because they're just annoying.
Okay.
And I know they're going through normal, although I think in this book, they're not the typical experience that normal adolescents go through, these girls in this book, right? I hope not anyway. Just usually the normal things that young adults are dealing with in those stories, that stage of life. I'm too far way past that stage to empathize. They annoy me. Yeah, I just don't care. I do not care.
You were a teenager too once.
Yeah, and I do not care. Like even in real life, like have you ever been like out in public, like at a movie or something where there's teenagers, and especially it seems to be teenage girls, and you're just listening to them talk, and you're just like, it's so banal. It's so like I just want to drive an ice pick through my eye rather than listen to them. Yeah, I just don't enjoy reading that age group. So she's a talented writer, no doubt. She can put together a well-constructed sentence, and she can certainly evoke feelings and
she's a
visuals,
poet.
visuals with those words. Yeah, so she's written poetry, so she definitely has the skill. For me personally, just didn't care.
The story
didn't. This
story
age group
didn't resonate with you. Yeah. So I will tell you, like, it took a while to get into this book, and I attribute that more to I think I'm just suffering some brain fatigue right now. So it wasn't necessarily that the story wasn't pulling me in. It was, or that the story itself wasn't captivating. I mean, we open with this girl who's been kidnapped and is tied to a chair. That's a very strong opening, but it took me a while to get into this book for my own personal reasons. But then once I did, I found Clara to be very compelling. Like I was very invested in, I guess, her story more so than I think I was the teenagers. And maybe kind of subconsciously, because maybe on some level I agree with you that I just like, it's not that I don't care. It's not that their
I don't
journey,
care.
it's not that the journey doesn't matter to me, but it's also just like the journey is like, it's one thing, they're going to this abandoned building, they're engaging in like horror storytelling and the stuff that doesn't feel so out of the realm of possible for me as a teen to have done. But then it goes into dangerous dares and hurting each other and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, why are we doing this? Ladies,
And
just
that's
say
the
no.
thing. It's like that movie. What was that series of movies in the 80s? And I don't know, you may not even remember, Valerie. What was it called? What were they called? It was guys. Jackass, the movie? Basically the whole
That was in the 80s. That was like the early aughts.
what are aughts?
2000s, Veronica, the 2000s.
Well, whatever. The whole basis of those movies is like guys doing stupid things, like stupid
Yes.
stunts, like dangerous stunts. And so they're doing it for money. I don't know why these girls were doing it the whole time when they're just like the things are escalating. And I'm like, why does nobody just say, dude, you're nuts, I'm out? And again, maybe that's just me at my age. I'm too far past that stage in life where it's hard for me to comprehend why you wouldn't step away from that, why you wouldn't say, this is crossing lines and this is stupid. Just flat out, this is stupid.
So, I mean, I guess like it kind of touches on like the story of Slender Man. I don't know actually the story of Slender Man. I've never bothered to look into it, but I do know like, and she references it in that long essay. Annalise does. There was a tragic actual event that took place where these teenage girls who were like 14, maybe not older than 15, 14. They were young. On the virility of Slender Man and their belief in Slender Man, they lured their mutual friend into the woods and killed her because of this stupid creepypasta. That part of the book feels real based off of these things that do happen. You do have kids that just fall into cult persona of some of these stories. And in this case, it's Annalise. Annalise is kind of the center of she's the center that all of these friends orbit around. And so even though it's completely foreign to us and it doesn't make sense, I do I do get how that happens in this story, because it happens in real life, unfortunately, where you have these kids that just, they fall into the magneticism of their friends. Annalise in this case. One of the reviews that we've linked for you guys does reference how it feels kind of Lord of the Flies in that way. You've got these young kids who just, their behavior just devolves and continues to devolve into more and more reckless, dangerous, stupid crap. Would you say that this was like, because there's a bunch of reviews that refer to it as like disturbing, creepy, harrowing? Are those words you would use?
I find Annalise disturbing because I think she's like a sociopath, but
yeah.
But the things that they actually did, I thought were either gross or just, I found it more annoying. I was more annoyed. That was my overriding emotion reading this book. It wasn't shock. Even with the, like Annalise's and possibly and Fernanda's affinity for mixing pleasure and pain, S&M, whatever you want to call it. Because one of my favorite fantasy trilogies that I've ever read dealt with the main character who 100% equated pleasure and pain. And there was far more, not graphic, but far more graphic things depicted in that book than was in this book.
I didn't feel it was like,
me.
I didn't feel it was crazy graphic or hard to get through.
So I didn't really find it disturbing or shocking. It just, my overriding emotion was just annoyance.
What did you think of Clara, the teacher? Like, I know this is going to sound crazy because I know she is the villain by the end of the book, but like there's a tragedy to her and all that she went through.
Yeah. I mean, I felt for her.
I want to see, I felt bad. Like, I've had empathy for her.
I felt a little bad for her, but then her obsession or whatever fixation with her mother was just so weird to me that it was hard for me to fully empathize with her, especially I definitely feel bad that happened to her at her previous school, where those two students broke into her home to steal, what was it, test answers or something?
Test answers. And then in like and then in the like later chapters, we get the full breadth of what they did to her, and it's horrific. But you were saying she was just, her bizarre obsession with her mother.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was like the author's metaphorical way of saying that, like, basically we all become our mothers. In Clara's case, she was literally, well, not literally because she couldn't be her mother, but was more an outwardly visual representation of becoming her mother, to the point of like adjusting her posture so that she had the same curvature in her spine and dressing like her mother and going into the same profession as her mother. But I don't really agree with that thought that we all become our mothers.
So the Locust Mag review by Ian Mond, he drew comparisons, which honestly, until I read the review, that didn't come up for me. But he drew comparisons to Clara and Norman Bates, the obsessiveness with the mother, and just the tragedy of those two characters. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was like, yeah, she is kind of a Norman Bates character, I suppose. And that review also references stories like Stephen King's Carrie, where we're talking about, again, adolescence and the dawning of female sexuality, and as something that's terrifying and dangerous. And so the comparisons with this story as well.
One point that I did find interesting, which I had never really considered, and it was in that essay that Annalise wrote for Clara to read, where she mentions that she read somewhere, because they attend an all-girls school, so there are no boys. So that point that she made, that, and I don't remember, because I was listening at it at a pretty fast speed, but I don't know if she was referencing a study or if she just read it somewhere in the absence of, because when you have boys and girls mixed together, most of these, like those Jackass movies, it would mostly be the boys kind of engaging in certain roles and certain behaviors in the classroom. And in the absence of that, girls will tend to fill in those roles. So I thought that was an interesting point I had not thought about.
What I thought was interesting about that also was talking about girls will fill in those roles, but also the way that the girls will go about it. So like the girls will, I'm paraphrasing, but the girl, like there will be like the ringleader causing the mischief, and then the girls will amplify her and lift her and rally behind her and lift her up or whatever. In the instance where it's boys causing the mischief, the girls will typically pivot and
counterbalance that,
versus when it's girls all together, the girls will just kind of like hive mentality. I'm not sure I'm describing it correctly, but they'll hive.
They'll hive.
Video people, they'll hive. For people listening, I'm making a hive. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was interesting too, and I had never really stopped to think about it that way. I mean, I've never been in an all-girls school, so
me either. So
yeah,
I have to ask Robert, because he went to an all-boys Catholic high school.
So like there are definitely things I want to pull from reviews we read later. I want to, just for perspective, one of the reviews written by Gabino Iglesias is worth talking about too. But I made my own notes as I was reading. There was a certain point in the book, Ron, where I felt so strongly that we were going to come to realize that Annalise was really just a facet of Fernanda, like that they were one and the same, that it was going to be kind of like Fight Club narrative reveal. Tyler Durden and Brad Pitt was Tyler Durden, right? And then who was?
I never saw Fight Club.
You never saw Fight Club?
No, so I can't help you.
Veronica,
you're on your own.
Well, that's dumb. It's a good movie, but I can't have this conversation with you then, because you don't know what the big reveal is in Fight Club. Anyway, that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be.
Would have been a cool twist. I'm kind of disappointed that it didn't happen that way.
A Fight Club situation, and then like I wanted to ask you, like in the essay where Annalise talks about her, I don't want to say philosophy, but presents her case about white horror and what that is. What did you think of that? The way that they describe the white age being, I guess, like adolescence, and white horror, and the color white even being like the silence of horror. And I guess in horror stories or in horror movies, when you see the color white, it's like a preface for something bad that's going to occur.
Well, I was listening to this really fast, so I don't know that all of that sank in.
Well, I'm so glad to have you. You bring so much to this conversation.
I mean, I think the idea that white as a color is open to, like, you can add anything to it and make it something different, like add another shade and it becomes something different. So it's this open vessel, basically, that's just open to whatever it comes in contact with, and it can become something different. And that adolescence is essentially that. the possibilities are endless, and they can go in any one of a million different directions depending on what's fed into it. So maybe that's even touches on the nature versus nurture argument of like garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. So it's an interesting idea.
Yeah. And I had never really considered that with the color white before, because and I also didn't remember, because again, I read this through ebook, and for me the disadvantage of ebook, like with a actual physical book in my hands, I can go back and reread sections and really digest something as much as I need to like process it. And with an ebook, I can't do that as easily, and so I had forgotten that I guess elsewhere earlier in the story they had kind of already explained the White Age and white horror. So, or they had explained it in a way that the first time I read it, it did not sink in. And then when one of the reviews I read referenced an earlier section where they talk about white horror, I was like, oh yeah, that does explain it. And I just glossed over that. So my understanding of the white horror didn't come until that essay chapter where she lays out the case. And I was like, oh, okay. Because prior to that, I was just like, what's this obsession with white as a color? Like, why the white god? Why the white age? She talks about, this was a quote. Annalise says this to Clara, the white age within your jaws. So just like, I was just like, what is that about? And so then when we get to that chapter, I understood it better. But I also came to realize that she'd kind of been laying out that definition all throughout the book, and I just wasn't picking up on it.
Well, definitely same limitation, probably even more so with audiobook, because at least with an ebook, you could page back.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're borrowing an audiobook, an ebook, I don't know if do they let you like highlight?
They let you highlight, but I don't know what good that does.
And bookmarks, so you can go back to your bookmarks.
I don't know what good it does me though, because it's like once I return the, that's my inexperience with ebooks. I don't know like what that does for me. I tried to screenshot the passage, and I guess because it's a rental through Hoopla, it won't let me screenshot that. So I was just like, well,
definitely as an audiobook, that's even more the case where you can't go back. And what I wasn't clear on, when she was differentiating between white horror and cosmic horror.
Yeah. Hold on. There's a review that sums it up better, because I would take too long thumbing through trying to find the chapter where she talks about that. Let me just see if I can quickly...
while you're looking,
yeah.
I also wanted to see, like when I was reading the synopsis for this book at the start of the episode, the part where they're saying even more perilous is the secret Annalise and Fernanda share. And when I was reading that, because that was the first time reading the synopsis, because much like movies, I go into these books blind. I don't read what it's about. In fact, because of the title, I kept asking Valerie, is this going to be about cannibalism? Because if it is, I don't want to read it. But it wasn't that. What was the perilous secret? Was it this, that they were in a lesbian relationship?
No, I interpreted that it wasn't just that. It was just the fact that they had taken their relationship to this place of like Annalise asking Fernanda to inflict pain on her, like repeatedly, over and over and over, with the biting. That's what I interpret. Like that's the big reveal, because the whole buildup of the book is like, well, what are they doing? What did she ask her to do to her? Like what? Da. And so then finally, when it's revealed that's the reveal. That's what it is. So I'm assuming that's the perilous secret, is because not only would it not be understood by anyone in their friend circle or parent circle, but it would also be strongly objected to and denounced. And I guess that to them at that age, it feels perilous. It feels...
I found it a little anticlimactic then. I was like, okay. That's it.
Yeah, like because I do remember when Annalise shows the photo to those boys, and the boys are just like horrified at what they're looking at. They can't even make sense of what they're looking at. And then when you come to find out what it is, it's like, well, you can't tell those. Or I'm just confused on why they were so horrified by a picture of bites. But then again, I don't know what they look like. They must look truly horrific.
Well, she's drawing blood, I'm sure, but
I can't find it. But I think, like, from my memory, the way that she makes the distinction between cosmic horror and white horror is that white horror encompasses things that cannot be known.
Well, if there are any of our listeners that were able to absorb that difference better.
I mean, I remember reading about it. It's just
I do just have a question, just because the whole book, because I couldn't stand Clara at all. Like, I mean, I didn't really like anybody, but I really, really couldn't stand her. And so I definitely wanted her
Wait, Clara or
to...
Annalise?
Annalise, sorry. Did I say Clara?
Yeah, you said Clara.
Okay. I really, really... Annalise. Really, really couldn't stand her. And so the whole book, I kept waiting. I was like, okay, I hope there's a moment of comeuppance. I hope she gets the day that she deserves.
Right.
Did I hear correctly that she just died in an earthquake?
No, so nothing happens to Annalise. That's the injustice of the ending of this book, is just like as you're approaching the ending and Clara has fully left the plane of reality and is just ranting and raving in madness, honestly about to kill Fernanda, as far as we know. Fernanda is the one who's remembering. She's the trauma of what she's experiencing in that moment. She's remembering back to an earlier time where one day there was an earthquake. They live in a region where earthquakes are very common because of something with the volcanoes. There was an earthquake, and she was just remembering. She's like, I should have died that day. She was remembering a moment where she looked at her friend Annalise. They laughed in the middle of this scary as hell moment when everyone else is freaking out. They looked at each other and they laughed and they ran together towards safety or whatever. And she's just saying, I wish I would have died then. I wish I would have in that moment. That would have been a better ending than what's about to happen. And so no, because Annalise is the one who unleashes Clara on her. Mm-hmm. And so all throughout the book, I was just like, Annalise is just really, I didn't start to think of her as freaking evil and manipulative till we get to those later sections of the book, when you realize how she's manipulating Clara, turning Clara just fully into just sending her into the rage that she sends her into, all because Fernanda finally told her, hey, I don't want to do this anymore and I'm done. And so Annalise looks at this, considers that a betrayal. And so she goes on this. That's when I was just like, man, I wanted her to get comeuppance too, and it doesn't happen. And I was very disappointed in that.
Yeah. And that might be another reason why I didn't care for the book story-wise, not from a writing perspective. Again, I think the writer is extremely talented. It's just this particular plot did not.
Yeah, I mean,
because it didn't have, and I don't even expect necessarily 100% satisfactory endings from horror.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
anything in the horror genre, whether it's a movie or, because just by the nature of the genre, bad things happen, and once someone's dead, you can't undo that.
It's very tragic and terrible, because you're just like, she didn't do this. Fernanda, she didn't do this. She didn't deserve this. We don't even know what's going to happen to her. Like, we don't know. It's just Clara going on a rant and the final, and she's continuing to say, like, let's unbirth ourselves. And I was like, what does that mean? How are we unbirthing ourselves?
I took that to mean that she's going to kill Fernanda and then she's going to kill herself.
I guess what I was getting stuck on is like, but how? How is she going to do it? I was just like, what? Is she going to shoot her? Is she going to eat her? Like, what's going to happen? The ending, I'm trying to find it. The ending of that, the last thing she says, welcome to the volcanic jaws of my house. Let us dive in. Actually, that whole paragraph. You know that girls who dream too much end up sick in the head, but now you're going to learn something important. Be happy. This is the color of fear. Milk white, death white, God's snowy skull. Welcome to the volcanic jaws of my house. Let us dive in. It's one of those books where it's like it ends and you're just like, what? Like, at this point, I am invested. It took me a while to get invested, but I did get invested. And then you're just ending it. Now you're just walking away from me, Monica Ojeda. Mm-hmm. I can't find the specifically where they talk about cosmic horror and white horror, but that we'd have linked that stuff for you guys, so you will be able to go through. And I encourage you to read those reviews. They are mostly positive. There is one that seems slightly less positive, but I did also look through a number of comments from Goodreads people. Goodreads. Mm-hmm. It's a good, healthy mix of people who if you love it, you either really love it, or if you hate it, you really hate it. I don't know that I would have read this book if not for us picking it for this particular show.
I definitely would not have read it.
I could see an instance where I may have put this one down and not picked it up again. It took a while to pull me in personally, but it was one of those books where once it did pull me in, I was glad I stuck with it until we get to the ending, and then I was just like, damn it.
Yeah, because Annalise is not even going to feel guilty.
No.
You
would hope so, but I just don't think she will, because I think I think she sees this as the logical thing that needed to happen because she was betrayed, or because
She's a sociopath.
the white god was betrayed. I don't know. I don't know if she sees herself as the white god or what.
She's a sociopath. I definitely would not have ever even picked this up because I would have read the blurb at the bookstore and seen that, oh, this is about high school girls. Nope. Done. Put it down.
Put it down.
What did you think of the chapters where Fernanda is in her therapy sessions? Like, it was just always her side. Because
what did I think of that? I liked it. I mean, it was a part of it that reminded me a little bit of Charlie Brown, but I liked it. And it's one of those things where I think there was one particular chapter that made me feel this way, and I don't know why, but towards the end of the book of her talking to the therapist, I started to wonder, like, is this real? Like, is there a therapist, or is she just having these ruminations and conversations in her head? But yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting decision, probably just meant to emphasize in those moments that it's like, it really is just not critical that we know what the adults in this story think or say. As a matter of fact, other than Clara, there aren't really any we don't really get any adult perspectives in this book at all. It's all the young girls. So,
and Clara is so damaged herself that
she's almost childlike too, like just trapped in a certain state of being and thinking. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
They're interesting chapters because they gave us a little more insight into Fernanda that fleshed her out a little bit more in a way that, like, Annalise certainly wasn't.
Yeah.
Or for sure any of the other girls. So Fernanda and Clara are the two, we get windows into their psyche, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because they're the two that kick off the book.
And we don't really get a window into any of Annalise's psyche until that essay chapter. And the style of writing, and that's mentioned in the reviews, that's mentioned in the book too. Clara, in the subsequent chapter, Clara says, she was alarmed, honestly, just by the style of writing and how adult Annalise comes across. And so I think that's where I got the sense that, Annalise is, like you said, she's sociopathic because, like, she hasn't been putting out all of this energy throughout the story, and then you get this chapter where it's really coming from her POV, her voice, and her voice is just scary.
Yeah.
Her voice is just scary. Her thoughts are scary, and the way she presents them is alarming. Did you get, because towards the end we do get that brief little chapter that takes us back in time to when they were 8. They're swimming, and Annalise, again, this is the start of her getting Fernanda to commit stupid dares. And so she gets her to, like, go with her over to where the adults swim, conveniently abandons Fernanda at a certain point so that Fernanda is the one who gets caught and gets in trouble. That's also where we learn, did you hear this correctly? Or I wasn't sure that I understood when I read it, because I read it and had to move on, swipe to the next page. But did Annalise's mother get after her once and bite her?
I don't recall hearing that.
Well, I mean, she doesn't say it, but the writing kind of alludes to that. And so I thought, is that where her fixation with mothers eating their daughters and all of that stems from that childhood trauma? And then that trauma morphs itself into this desire later on that she wants to experience with Fernanda. That's where I thought that chapter was leading us to, is kind of showing us that triggering event in Annalise's life. I'm going to go find it now. I don't know how to, remember. With ebooks, I don't know how do I get to the table of contents so that I can access the chapter faster? But yeah, it wasn't like she comes right out and said, my mother bit me, but it was like something in the writing was making me think that that's what happened.
I don't recall that Annalise's mother bit her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Annalise's mother was terrible to her.
Did we actually see that, or was that just what Annalisa reported? Because I would not consider Annalise a reliable historian.
Well, yeah. Fernanda also.
That may have been her, because she's super manipulative. That may have been her it might have been something slight that her mother did. That the same with Fernanda, that she considers this humongous betrayal to her. So I wouldn't even consider anything that comes out of that girl's mouth as even remotely grounded in truth.
Well, I don't know. And like a lot of it was relayed to us through Fernanda. So is it that it was real because Fernanda is the one saying it, or did Fernanda just believe Annalise because Annalise was her best friend? Yeah, who's
I think
to
it
say?
was that.
Yeah,
she just believed Annalise and Annalise lies. So
I think for the purposes of this story, it's more interesting if we choose to believe that Annalise did experience some of her own trauma through her own mother and through these things, because otherwise, what's the triggering event that makes her sociopathic?
Well,
and then I guess
I don't think people are made social. I think sociopaths are just, they're born missing whatever gene or component in us that makes us capable of empathy and sympathy. They're just devoid of that.
Well, it's in that chapter. It's chapter 30 in the ebook anyway, where Annalise is also like, we're getting in between what's happening. We're also getting this story of the Little Mermaid that she's telling. But see, if I had a book, if I had like the physical copy, all of these would be tabbed. I'd be able to go to it. I'd be able to see it, but I don't, because I'm with an ebook and I don't know how to get to the things that you highlight. I don't know. Patreon people, when you watch this episode, this meandering episode, tell us if that's sort of what you intuited from that chapter also, because there was just something in the writing that made me feel like, did her mom get mad at her? And because she didn't have anything else around her, she didn't have anything to hit Annalise with, she just bit her? I don't know. When I intuited that, I thought, okay, well, I guess that would make sense on why she's obsessed with like this mothers eating daughters thing, and why she maybe has twisted that trauma in her mind into something that she wants to purify and beautify with her friend. So I don't know. In any case, were there any other personal thoughts that you had about let me see. I will say this, because like Clara, we get a lot of, like I said, I found Clara actually to be the most compelling character for me, maybe probably because she was the only adult in the story. And I was just really invested in wanting to understand. I was really fascinated with her condition, her severe anxiety, her post-traumatic stress, her obsessive compulsiveness. It just was really all interesting to me, because out of all of them, she's the one whose backstory we're getting the most throughout the course of the book. She's the one that I had empathy for the most. And so then when even though I understand how Annalise manipulates her and gets her to believe that Fernanda was essentially traumatizing her and sneaking into her house and doing all of these things to mess with her, I can see why that would drive her over the edge, but I wanted to see that more in the writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we just go from Annalise drops that nugget in Clara's brain to Clara kidnaps Fernanda and goes fully away mentally. I guess I just wanted the descent into madness to be late. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess it was laid out in the writing. Looking back on it now, it was all there. It's just, it didn't feel like it was, because I wasn't.
Well, we didn't get that process of when did she decide to kidnap Fernanda
and how, like, yeah.
It felt a little like the ending felt like it rushed a little bit. Now that you mention that, like, because we don't get that. We don't get that point where because she didn't feel that unhinged.
She didn't feel that unhinged. That's what I'm trying to say.
Where she's reading that.
Like, she obviously had mental health struggles, but it's like she wasn't homicidal, Yeah. Like, I wanted, how did we get there to homicidal? I wanted to fully know that. So the person sneaking into Clara's house, was that real? Or was Annalise just lying? Or was Annalise lying that she was the one who was doing that, not Fernanda?
No, I 100% think that Annalise was doing it. That Annalise was the one sneaking in and moving things around to prove to Clara that what Annalise said was true, that Fernanda was going to do the same or worse to her that those other two girls that did in her past. Although, now that you mention it, it could also be that just once that seed was planted in Clara's mind, that she suddenly perceived
everything as
normal, everyday things as being abnormal.
Yes.
So it could be either one.
Well, and it occurred to me just now that it could be either one, because I was just like, yeah, if you have a mind as fragile as Clara's, it does not take much to get her to go obsessive compulsive about something new. So if you introduce something into her psyche, she'll take it and run with it. So tragic ending. And I was very pissed. And I don't know what becomes of Annalise, but I don't like her. Let me see. So I just wanted to tell you, there's a review written by Tobias Carroll. We've linked it for you guys. He writes about the ways in which Jawbone is a very modern story. And that much is obvious, obviously. obviously. But he says the behavior and rituals in the story, whether born of the internet or born from religious tradition, are ever present, and that's intentional. And then he pulls a quote. Mónica Ojeda said this in a 2022 interview. She says, in the Andean world in Latin America, a shaman can be playing chess on a Looney Tunes themed chessboard. This is something I've witnessed. She says, a while back, I actually saw a shaman making a limpia, a ritual, and he was mixing the herbs in a Coca-Cola can. That's how it works right now. And it's very interesting because it forges new legends, new oral stories, and transforms these symbols. So I guess just sort of referencing how you do have a lot of modern culture mashing up with these rituals and religious customs and ancient beliefs. The way that Annalise invents her, what is it? Her white drag queen god,
yeah.
Something. I forget exactly what the phrasing is, but all the ways in which, like I remember one instance where she's talking about wanting to pray over Fernanda's teeth, like her teeth is like a rosary. Imagine a rosary made of teeth. Yeah, I thought that was one of the few things we pulled that has an actual quote from the author herself. So I thought that was worth highlighting. To your point earlier, your fears about this being a cannibalistic story. I was once we learned that it was just, she's just biting her. I was like, okay, well, I can deal with that. That's fine. I was like, is she eating parts of her friend? But no, she's just biting her.
Well, she might have been. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, okay, so she's biting you, but it's like she describes like biting into clavicle, ripping into her trachea, and like you could seriously you could kill her. I imagine biting into the trachea as like a dog would, and it's just like you could severely mess up your friend, if not send her into the ER with something like that. There are people who will enjoy this story a lot, but it's certainly not for everybody. And I would definitely read this author again. Just probably not this book, but
not if it has teenagers in it. I'm not reading it. Now I'm super disappointed that your initial theory didn't pan out, that we didn't discover that Annalise and Fernanda were the same person. That would have been a cool
story. But maybe that would have been too predictable, Like I was thinking about
I didn't think that. I wasn't thinking that at all.
Well, that's because you don't have Fight Club context. Like I had, because if this book is so hung up's the wrong phrase, but because this book incorporates so much pop culture references, I was like, well, Fight Club, that would definitely be quite the reference. I forget when like the story takes place. Is it in the 90s? Did I read something?
I don't actually know.
That made me think it was the 90s?
Was it set in Ecuador?
I think so. I forget where the story takes place. But I do know that like it takes place where there's volcanoes, because she's on a mountain that has a volcano or near a volcano. Because I thought, is a volcano about to erupt? And Clara knows that. And so that's how they're going to die. They're going to die by, maybe she throws her in the volcano. I think that's sort of like what was unsettling too, is like, we don't know ultimately, we know what's going to happen to Fernanda, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen to her. And the not knowing drives me crazy, because you just imagine any number of things, any number of torturous ways that Clara could choose to kill herself and this girl. So interesting read, really gifted writer, dark and creepy story, but not overly horrific. If you pick this book up, I think you'll be able to get through it just fine. We don't currently have a book picked out for our fall read, which would be, that episode will be coming sometime in October. So we have a lot of time before we pick out a book. But if you're a member of our Patreon, you can drop us recommendations on what you think we should pick up next as a group. And we'll have that announced in the days to come via social media. So if you don't follow us on socials, we are at Don't Watch at Night Pod everywhere. Find us there. Pew, 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 pew. Veronica's doing pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew. I don't know why. But
Veronica, real quick, before we go, our next episode will be a film one. And you know what I was noticing, Ron? I think Summer Camp, the movie that I've been trying to find us for forever, I think that's finally available over on Amazon Prime. Summer Camp, which came out in 2015. Director is Alberto Marini. And I think it's like a combination of English, Spanish, but it's four American, as my understanding, it's a Spanish film, but four American counselors at a European summer camp must deal with the outbreak of a rage-inducing plague that starts in the animals. It's called Summer Camp. So that's why I was like, this would be such a great summer movie.
Where is it available?
I think it's on Amazon Prime right now. you got to watch it in summer, and every other summer that I've tried to find it, it's not been available. Okay, so let's make that one the next one. I think you might enjoy it. It sounds, just based off of that little blurb, it sounds like maybe it could be kind of something viral, something zombie-esque perhaps. Who knows? You got anything else?
No, that is it.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for watching if you're part of our Patreon. And thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Don't Watch at Night is a Nest production hosted by me, Veronica, and Valerie. Editing by Valerie. Music by Omar Chakor. Production support for this episode provided by Lorenzo Villarreal and Alex Street. Listen to new episodes of Don't Watch at Night every other Monday, and don't forget to give us a rate and review. It's the best way to help us grow.